Hi, this is Mike making my video to add to my collection. Today's July 13th, 2026, and it's 9:20 p.m. Yeah, I'm making this video because I'm talking about, some revelations that I've come across. And more or less I've really tried to dig to the bottom of what reality is. And there's people that talk about, physicists or you know whatever, these people that talk of bigwigs that talk about, if you were to find out the nature of reality, the very essence of it, you wouldn't survive, and that's not true. Um, I see these things what they call quiffs, and that's basically the waves that are being sent out, and then of course uh, a pop, and the pop is like a quantum packet, that gets that pops, and then basically what it does is it releases all the information that's inside of it, and it creates solid matter. So in essence, these quanta, they pop, and then the wave function gets collapsed, and then they basically release their information. It's like a black hole is full of information, and when it basically releases everything, it takes all that stuff it took in, and it creates something new. And it's almost like a popcorn kernel, when it pops, it releases a big piece of popcorn out of a tiny little kernel. So, uh, the only thing is quanta are a lot more advanced than that. They're basically Higgs boson particles, but they're very small. And then when they get, when they release their energy, or their information, I should say, the digital information that's on the inside of them, they create solid matter and they create objects. Sometimes these objects are 100 times bigger than they are, if not more. So, anyway, I've seen that happen, the very nature of how things are created. And then you can take it one step further. I've seen, like how they can create an avatar, or, basically an animated avatar like a Pixar cartoon. And then you take that one step further with processing. You can create a very lifelike image that is indistinguishable from you know, a person in their regular waking state. So, it's so close to being as realistic as a person that you can't just differentiate between them. And I've had dreams that were lucid, and I've had dreams that involve my brother and stuff. And then I've seen him in the spirit form. And his spirit form is slightly different than the physical form. It looks more like a slightly like a cartoon image, almost like a Pixar cartoon. Basically, it's like it's animated. So anyway, I mean, it was more realistic than that, but you could tell that it wasn't fully uh, physical. Things that are physical are an illusion too. Everything's an illusion. It's all an illusion, basically, if you think about it, and there really isn't anything that justifies, saying that something's real or not. Even Pontius Pilate, even said, he goes, "What is truth?" He didn't know what truth was, and there's some truth to that. There's some truth to it, but then again, there's a lot of falsehoods. Jesus would say that his true mother gave him life, but she also gave him falsehood. And he was talking about the Holy Spirit, but he's also talking about his true mother in the same breath. So He said, if you don't hate your mother and father like I do, you're not worthy of the kingdom of heaven. But if you don't hate them like I do, you're not worthy either. So it's like, and what he's talking about is he doesn't like liars and he doesn't like the falsehoods. But everything's a falsehood. Everything in this world is an illusion. And um, there really isn't anything that's nailed down and secure and guaranteed. I mean, everything changes. This whole world, everything about it, it changes, and the world we live in, and you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to lose everything eventually, and you might have to shake it all out and then basically re-up and then basically get a new life after that. But the thing is sometimes, uh, not all, pretty much all the time, you're gonna be faced with that where you lose things. But then out of the things that you lose, you gain some things, and more often than not, 2 to 1, it's gonna be more that you gain from it than what you've lost in the long run. So you can exchange one set of circumstances for another, and you can exchange, uh, one. That's usually what happens, when you shake off your old self. You're basically drinking new wine. And when you do that, you're getting new wisdom and new knowledge. And the old days are gone, and the new days have come. And you basically have it to where they're you're changing. And when you change like that, and you put on a new garment, and you basically uh, shake off your old self, you're basically going through that, where you get all those aberrations and all that negativity and all those negative thoughts, and the old programs no longer serve you, so you have to delete those programs and you have to get rid of everything, but you have to more or less exhaust all the possibilities within the old programs in order for the new programs to take place. So sometimes a breakdown, really boils down to basically a breakthrough. So, with that being said, life is really not that bad. I can't complain. I've got a lot of good things in life, and I'm thankful for what I do have. Sometimes things irritate me. They're not working like the way I want them to, and it's just a matter of the process of elimination. I got to figure things out and extrapolate, and then I can, basically figure things, problem solving, and I can figure things out. It takes a while to get to where you're at, but then what you do uh, is you basically live a simpler life, and then when you live a simpler life, things really aren't as bad as what they were. It's just sometimes you exchange one set of circumstances for another, and you're basically separating the subtle from the gross, and you're basically taking the spiritual things and you're separating them from the physical things, the carnal things. And the spiritual things and the carnal things are both sacred, and they're both equally sacred. They both come from the same source. And that's really what it is just, consciousness. That's another revelation I came across. Is that everything's just consciousness, and it's just basically thought. The light establishes itself, and basically I'm part of that light. I'm made of light. And I was a tiny little sperm and egg, and those two things came together, and then after all those cell divisions and stuff like that and whatever else, I manifested into who I am today. So, the biology of belief, I believe that, I can have good things in life and I can heal my body and I can do wonderful things. And with that being said, I can heal myself and I can do great things. So the thing is, I've had millions of dollars in my life and I've had beautiful cars, foreign cars, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, and I've had all that. And then basically, it's because, I manifested those things and they were things that were on my plate that I wanted to get. And the price was right. It was a perfect thing. The perfect price and the perfect thing for that price. And the money was there and then I spent it and I bought it. And, I just got, more phases to go through. I have probably one or two at least different time I got to shake everything off. But then, I'm not really keen on going through this whole um, psych ward thing. That's what, basically Wisconsin is all about. And I'm just kind of tired of it. I'm irritated with it. And I guess that's really where I'm at. I'm not willing to forgo that anymore. And I'm just going to probably do the things I got to do and live where I got to live and have the things I got to have and be the things I got to be. So, anyway, that's all I really have to say. But yeah, everything's just made of light. If you think about it, it's flash rates. And time is an illusion. It's just like frames on a film projector. And you got to figure I'm the movie camera and the world's a film projector. And, it's like you project those things outward. And if you pay close enough attention, you'll see that everything is a bunch of waves. But if you think about it more on the order of a video game, a very advanced video game that we're partaking in is quantum entanglement and stuff like that. We're a very advanced robot, cyborg, and you got the flash rates and the world around you, and all things are possible. It's like a video game, like Minecraft, where walls disappear and stuff like that. And walls can disappear right in this room, or it could snow in this room, and I can start fires and all kinds of things like that. And I've seen all kinds of mythological creatures, and I've created things from scratch. The quantum void. The quantum void's all around us. It's just, you got to figure out that quantum void. Things can manifest out of that quantum void, and then you got to figure that the Earth was void without form, and then all that kind of stuff. You know. So, basically, I'm just thankful for everything, and I have a lot of energy and a lot of emotional components to that, and then basically, I got focus, and I'm fixated on things, and then, I have belief, I have faith, and I have courage, definitely courage. So they try to say that my whole makeup, basically about who I am and what I'm about is an illness and it's a deficiency, and it's really not. It's quite the opposite. So anyway, I have my way to do things. It's like Tigger, you can't take the stripes off a Tigger. I definitely don't want to be Eeyore, and they try to put a square peg through a round hole. So anyway, that's all I got to say for now, and have a good day. Over and out.